All right, so I think we're live. I don't even know when this happened. Very recently, I think. We're gonna get some details into it. Hold on, let me just get the chats up for the stream there. Let me make sure we're live on all of the platforms here. Good to go. Canadian police investigating a shooting at a U.S. consulate in Toronto. I think U.S. consul. Yes, okay, we're live. Thank you. Good to go. Let's get this rolling right now.
Breaking news, Canadian police reporting that the U.S. consulate in Toronto has been hit by gunfire. That's all the detail we have. Let's watch live.
I would also like to ask that any members of the public who may have some evidence, some dash cam footage, some video footage, anything that might be suspicious activity that could be connected to this, that they please contact the police to assist us with our investigation. Again, I will repeat, the suspect vehicle was a white Honda CR-V. There were two males, two individuals that emerged and discharged the firearms. This is early in the investigation, and of course, as it unfolds and we're able to provide more information, we will surely do so. And now I'd like to turn the microphone over to Chief Superintendent Chris Leather.
Thank you, Deputy. Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Leather. I'm the RCMP Chief Superintendent for Criminal Operations here in Ontario. I'm going to make some formal remarks here, and then I look forward to questions that the media may have afterwards. Our community has experienced a deeply concerning incident, and I want to begin by acknowledging the worry and uncertainty many people are feeling today. Our thoughts are with everyone affected, as well as those who may be feeling unsettled by what has occurred. At this stage, I can confirm that the RCMP is working closely with the Toronto Police Service and our international partners who will assist us in a fulsome investigation into the shooting that took place overnight, early this morning, at the American Consulate behind us. The RCMP's Integrated National Security Enforcement Team, INSET, GTA, has permanent positions for members of the Toronto Police Service, which further increase our capacity to conduct these investigations in real time with established and strong relationships, intelligence sharing, and tactics. At this time, the INSET team has been engaged, as this is a national security incident, and we are working with Toronto Police and others to understand the motivations of those involved. The RCMP regularly works in close collaboration with police services of jurisdictions across the country, as well as our partners with Global Affairs Canada, in the fulfillment of our mandate to provide protection of designated persons, including foreign diplomats, and in relation to incidents that occur at or in the vicinity of embassies or consulates. For the moment, while the early stages of the investigation are taking place, we have increased security around embassies and consulate buildings here in Toronto and in the Ottawa region. There will be no tolerance for any form of intimidation, harassment, or harmful targeting of any communities or individuals in Canada. We want to assure that everyone's safety and security is at the forefront of everything that we do. The RCMP takes threats to security of individuals living in Canada very seriously and wants to reassure everyone that there is no indication of an immediate threat to public safety at this time. Thank you.
And we'll take questions now if you guys have some questions.
Chief Leather, you talked about working to figure out a motivation. We've already heard officials, including the mayor of Toronto, seemingly link this to the heightened tensions in the Middle East. What's your response to that, and is that a fair positive effect?
It's too early for us to determine where the links lay or may not with those that are responsible for the shooting. That is obviously part of the active investigation, and we're just simply not in a position to comment on that any further.
Chief, as this is a federal investigation, could you just speak to how that changes sort of the charges, the penalties, like how does that elevate, the seriousness of this?
Section 83, which is a portion of the Criminal Code of Canada that deals with terrorism offences, if it's indeed determined to be that, is the mandate under which we operate as the National Police Service pursuant to our integrated national security enforcement teams. But to be clear, these are integrated units that undertake these investigations. So while it may be RCMP-led, it also has the Ontario Provincial Police. Toronto obviously will have a key role in this investigation, and the other large police services in the GTA in particular will be working with us diligently on this investigation, which is now, of course, a high priority matter for us to take on.
Deputy Chief, this does
Breaking news, Canadian.
My apologies for that. Let's get back to where we were.
incidents like this one or others that we're seeing be ordered from outside the country.
Yeah, I don't have any information to provide at this time on any
Well,
sleeper
good morning.
cells that may or may not exist in Canada. Suffice to say that our CSIS counterparts and the INSETs across the country are actively investigating matters such as this, and we will continue to do so. I think it's important that the public realizes that we've had a number of meetings and discussions already this morning with our federal counterparts, and that does include CSIS both here in Toronto region and at national headquarters, and they are tracking this incident very closely as well.
When you mentioned stepped up security at consulates, do you just mean American consulates in Canada or other countries' consulates and embassies as well?
Other consulates as well, including the Israeli consulate, will be seeing a change in the security posture here in Toronto, as well as Ottawa.
Any other countries?
Not that I'm prepared to speak to at this time. We'll be assessing that on an ongoing basis. But for now, the U.S. consulate and the Israeli consulate will see a change.
So why did you choose those two consulates specifically?
Well, I think it's fairly obvious based on the incidents that have occurred here in Toronto and elsewhere that these consulates deserve a heightened amount of vigilance and security at this time, in the hopes that we can bring the temperature down in the coming days and weeks.
Has something like this ever happened before with the U.S. consulate? Shooting?
Not in my memory. I can't recall us either investigating or becoming aware of a shooting here, Deputy.
I cannot recall a shooting. I do recall many, many years ago a firebomb incident. We're going back a ways. I mean, it won't be lost on anyone that the U.S. consulate is the site of many protests and demonstrations, as well as because of geopolitical events. The Israeli consulate has seen a lot of gatherings, people assembling, expressing themselves. So that this would be a scene where something like this would be where the manifestation of frustration with geopolitical events would happen is not lost on us, but that might in part explain why this building is as secure and as fortified as it is.
Do we know how many people were inside the building at the time of the shooting?
I believe there were people inside at the time. I can't confirm that. However, as I was mentioning earlier, the building is so fortified, it's quite possible that people inside would not have noticed that there were shots. Pardon me, that there were shots directed at the front of the building.
And are you able to confirm, I'm not sure how many shots based on the casing?
So I'm afraid I'm not able to share that with you. I can say that it was multiple shots. And there were multiple casings.
Last question, please.
So what's entailed in determining if this is terrorism related? You mentioned that was a possibility.
Well, it's definitely a national security incident because we had the U.S. consulate, after all, struck by gunfire. Whether it's a terrorist event or not, that'll be subject to the investigation that will be undertaken in the coming days and weeks. And that'll be based on the evidence that's collected both here at the scene and subsequently through the work with our partners.
Can you just give us an update quickly on traffic? How long is southbound going to be closed for?
I'm afraid I'm not able to tell you exactly. I mean, I could follow up with you if you like. I'd speak to the people here that are protecting the scene, and rest assured that as soon as we're able to open up traffic, we will. We realize that this is obviously an inconvenience for people, but the investigation is of a very high priority, and we are making sure that we are not leaving anything to chance and looking at every little detail.
I'd like to thank everyone for attending today. Just a reminder, if you were in the area early this morning around 4:29, if you're driving and you have
So an
dash cam
international
footage or
incident
pedestrian
right now
have,
is being
some
talked
video
about,
surveillance.
and this to me stood out when they were asking that leadership from police in Toronto, do you believe that there are cells in your country, terror cells? He said there may or may not be existing in Canada at this point, but they are now tightening security, stepping it up.
Oh, well, they've talked about that numerous times in parliamentary committees, and it's kind of already confirmed, more or less, that there is. There are thousands, tens of thousands of people in the country that are unvetted and unchecked, and they don't know where they are. They don't even know who they are. And they've said this numerous times. They have a list. Gary Anandasangri himself in committee has said, we have a list, we just don't know where they are. And conservatives time and time again have asked, are you going to execute these warrants for deportation? They don't even know where these people are. I think it's pretty cut and dry what happened
at both
here.
U.S. and Israeli consulates in Toronto and the U.S. Embassy and Israeli Embassy in Ottawa, which, of course, is the capital city of Canada. So we are fortunate to have today Republican Congressman Rick Crawford of Arkansas. He is the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee and the perfect person for this. So we're watching this, you from afar. I want to get your top-line thoughts on what has transpired with our U.S. consulate in Toronto.
Well, sadly, I think this was predictable, that we know that when we're engaged in these type of operations that the threat is elevated to our homeland and to targets overseas. This one is practically in our homeland. This one's taking place in Canada. And so we shouldn't be surprised. We should be redoubling our efforts on counterintelligence here at home and making sure, the question that you highlighted, was this a terror cell? And he answered, as most people would, we don't know for sure if there's a terror cell or if there's not a terror cell, which is exactly why we have to assume there are terror cells, and we have to posture accordingly. So that's the message, I think, going forward, is that we must posture as if these cells exist, because in counterintelligence, you always have to assume the worst, and that's the worst case scenario.
Look, I've done no disguising of my disgust with what's happening on Capitol Hill right now. I mean, we are laid bare. And this is an incident that didn't happen on U.S. soil. The one here in New York City with the ISIS-inspired suspects firing it at the mayor's mansion did. And for the political party across the aisle from you, those Democrats on Capitol Hill, as the chairman of House Intelligence, you know what we're up against in this country. You just talked about it. How do you get Democrats? Senator Thune said 2 hours ago they were not coming back to the table at this point. How do you get them to see us as American citizens and not see their own politics?
Well, when they talk, they're not talking in code anymore. They're saying it right out loud in our face. What's most important to them right now, this is the red line for funding DHS appropriations, is that we agree to not have ICE agents at polling locations. What the heck? What is that about? I mean, what does that tell you? That's not encoded. That's flat out in your face. What they want is to make sure that illegal aliens are treated above the actual sovereignty of United States citizens as they exercise their right to vote. They want to put illegals in that same camp and say, we're more concerned about their safety at polling places. Why polling places? Because they probably are encouraging illegals to come and vote, and they don't need ICE monitoring that. And they just said it. They said, not just any Democrat, the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, said that. And when they tell you these things, they're not speaking in code anymore. They're telling you they put the illegals above U.S. citizens.
Look, I know the White House has put President Trump's vision of this. I mean, they wanted the head of DHS gone. Kristi Noem is gone. She's out of that. They're looking at a replacement now, and that confirmation situation coming forward, hopefully as soon as possible, so we have a head of that department who's firm in that position. But Chairman, I mean, this is bigger than what they want at a polling station. This is the core responsibility of the federal government, and that's to protect us. And we saw at the State of the Union, Democrats don't even agree about that part.
Right. No, you're right. It's absolutely maddening that they can't discard their partisan politics for 1 minute, long enough to recognize the imperative of funding our Department of Homeland Security. We're not having a fight over the spending levels in the nutrition benefits, for crying out loud. We're saying, please come forward and fund Department of Homeland Security. We've passed it twice in the House. And these people are intransigent because they hate Trump more than they love the country.
Well, is there anything we can do to pay those TSA workers? I mean, that's what Americans want to know as we go into spring break.
Okay, moving onward to the Iran war. What the fuck?
This is fake. This is AI.
Okay, I was
This
gonna
has
say
10 million views. And it's all fake. This is insane. And people, they
AI is out of control. But yeah, that's insane.
see this. Stupid people see this. And they say, wow, oh my gosh. I think Iran is winning the war. Iran is dominating America and Israel, whatever. It's crazy. You got to be stupid to fall for some of this stuff. Okay, folks, like I said, Carolyn Levitt is coming on out here any second now. I'm going to turn up our audio inside of the White House press room. Rumor has it we might actually have a special guest. It's going to be Carolyn Levitt and maybe a special guest here today. We're not sure exactly. Talking about the Iran war, the war in Iran. Now, thank you all for tuning in here today. Boomers, I'll tell you what, I actually don't think the people that are falling for that are not boomers. I think it's third worlders. You guys need to understand there's a lot of dumb people around the world in the third world. And a lot of them don't like America. A lot of them hate Israel. They hate Israel and they're not fans of America. It's individuals from the third world, and I think a lot of them are not so bright. They're not known for being the brightest. Pakistan. And they see videos like that, and it plays into their anti-American bias, and they're already not so smart, and they latch onto it, because it's what they want to see. It's what they want to believe, and so they latch onto it. I think that's what's going on here. Somalian, yeah, maybe. Maybe. That's what I think. We have a...
All right, so question period is about to begin, but we will have 10 to 15 minutes of statements by members, which I usually cut into. So we'll continue watching this, and I will look up more based on what's happening in the consulate in Toronto.
A big super chat here from MC Heimler. He says,
But it does sound like it is pretty cut and dry there. Nobody was injured. The building is very secure. It is a major security problem, though. And they can't even give an answer if there's terror cells in the country, which at that point, yeah, you might as well just assume there is.
screw of the global oil price in our hands, the Strait of Hormuz. For a long time, the U.S. will have to wait for our actions to control the price of oil. Energy markets are unstable, and we will continue to fight until Trump declares defeat. The Iranian regime's plan is to shut down oil exports out of the Persian Gulf through the Strait of Hormuz in order to make Trump surrender. Well, Trump issued this statement last night. He said, and I quote, "If Iran does anything that stops the flow of oil within the Strait of Hormuz, they will be hit by the United States of America 20 times harder than they have been hit thus far. 20 times harder. Additionally, we will take out easily destroyable targets that will make it virtually impossible for Iran to ever be built back as a nation again. Death, fire, and fury will rain upon them. But I hope and pray that it does not happen. This is a gift from the United States of America to China and all of those nations that heavily use the Hormuz Strait. Hopefully, it is a gesture that will be greatly appreciated. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump." There's a word that comes to mind, thug.
Okay, we have Doug Ford. Not my favorite, but we have Doug Ford here talking about what happened to the U.S. consulate.
I want to begin by condemning the shooting at the U.S. consulate. I had a meeting actually planned with the Consul General, Baxter Hunt, and he's a very good man. We had to cancel it, but I can reassure the Consul General and our U.S. friends and allies that we're going to throw everything at this. I had the opportunity to speak to the OPP Commissioner, and he reassured me that he is working collaboratively with all three levels of government, our municipal police, our provincial, and our federal police, and I have all the confidence in the world that they're going to catch these criminals, and we're going to hold them accountable, and they're going to face the full extent of the law. It's absolutely unacceptable what we've been seeing over the last week with the shootings at synagogues, Jewish synagogues across the city in the 905. We're going to, again, throw every resource to hold these people to account. You know, folks, this is Ontario, Canada. We've never seen this in our entire lives. Shootings, no matter if it's the consulate or if it's places of worship. And this goes for every single religion, no matter if it's anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and every other religion. I always say we have 110 religions, and I will do the same if any other place of worship gets attacked. And again, it's unacceptable that we're seeing this in the greatest city, the greatest province, greatest country in the entire world. But we will not spare a penny to make sure we hold these people accountable, and we're going to go full steam at this. So I'll open it up to the questions, and we can go from there.
What can the province do to help solve the shooting at the U.S. consulate?
Well, we're going to support our police. We're going to give them all the tools that they need to get this done. And I don't direct the police, but I have all the confidence in the world in our police. And I'm very confident we're going to apprehend these criminals, and they're going to face full extent of the law.
Have you got any indication from police that these shootings at the synagogues and this shooting at the consulate are related in any way, the same people involved?
Yeah, no, we haven't.
So the Liberal Party is at 169 seats. There's 3 ridings up for by-election right now. If the Liberals win all 3 by-elections, they get a majority. One of the ridings is in Quebec. It is the Terrebonne riding, the same riding that had a bunch of issues after the election and is continuing to have issues now. Basically, from what I've gathered, Quebec is pretty pissed off with the Liberals. They've had enough of them. As a matter of fact, Quebec separatism is rising. Municipal levels, provincial levels, and most likely federal as well. I can't say 100%. The Terrebonne riding was won by the Quebec seat, and then they did a recount and went Liberal, and then they did a recount and went Quebec, and then it went back and forth. It was literally a margin of maybe 5, 10, 30 votes at the very most. So depending on how that riding goes specifically, I don't know how this will go. And Quebec seems to be losing a lot of hope with the Liberals. I don't know why Quebec went so hardcore Liberal. Like, they flopped on the block and went Liberal. I think it's only a matter of time. Look, Carney will probably get a majority because there's a lot of people that believe he's doing a fantastic job, which he's not, which is why we have things like this happening right now. For example, right? This. So it's quite possible he gets a majority. I don't know about buying the majority. I don't know any context of that. I don't know, though. If he gets a majority, it's going to suck ass because they're just going to pass whatever they want, obviously. And there's going to be little to no opposition, and the support and the momentum of the opposition will dwindle because what are they going to do? They can just filibuster, I guess, but eventually bills will get through and legislation will pass. They have a majority. So I don't know. it's really hard to say what happens right now. These 3 by-elections are going to be pretty major, all things considered. It won't shock me, though, if they all go Liberal. Just saying. It won't shock me. If we went to a flat-out election right now, entire country federal, Carney gets a majority. People, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the mainstream media narrative and spin, or if it's just people are believing the lies and manipulation. I don't know what it is, but people believe Mark Carney is this fantastic, phenomenal person. And I'm hearing it more and more, sadly. I'm hearing it more and more. And it's not just like people on the internet. It's like people I know and shit. So, I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens with these by-elections, because they're going to be major. They're going to be very big. And it will dictate quite a bit with what happens.
In the crossfires of a war they are neither responsible for and which is not of their making. After the trauma of witnessing the regime butcher tens of thousands of innocent protesters, Iranians are now contending with war. Let us hope that this will end swiftly and lead to the end of this odious regime. Iranians, Canadians, and the world want to see an end to 47 years of theocracy. However, civilians on the ground in Iran and their relatives in Canada can simultaneously fear the mullahs as well as bombs raining down from the skies. These are hopeful but perilous times. May the brave people of Iran finally experience what we take for granted in Canada, peace and freedom. In conclusion, if the honourable members know any Iranian Canadians in their ridings, it's a good time to check in.
The Honourable Member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, this weekend the Beauce region was deeply shaken by a serious accident involving a bus carrying a group of young cadets. Tragically, a 13-year-old cadet, Xavier Landry, from Scott, lost his life. Several other young people were injured, some seriously. This tragedy has deeply affected the families, loved ones, and the entire community. It also affects the entire cadet family. In these difficult times, our thoughts are with the young boy's family, with the injured young people, as well as all the cadets, officers, and instructors affected by this tragedy. I would like to highlight the remarkable work of the first responders, police officers, firefighters, and medical personnel who responded so quickly. On behalf of the people of Beauce, I offer my sincere condolences to the family of Xavier, to the young cadets, their loved ones, and the entire Beauce community. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Bow River.
Canadians cannot control what happens overseas, but we can control the policies here that are making life less affordable. Right now, higher oil prices should be a huge opportunity for Canada. We are blessed with the 4th largest oil reserves in the world, and our allies are asking for reliable energy. Instead of Canadians getting resources to market, the Liberals keep putting up roadblocks and excuses. They have not approved a single new pipeline to Tidewater, and the much-touted Major Projects Office was supposed to speed things up, hasn't approved a single project. Maybe if a pipeline had Liberal insiders connected to it, like a certain wind farm in Nova Scotia or even Brookfield, the government would actually care about getting it built. The Liberals' industrial carbon tax is driving investment out of Canada, and to make matters worse, they are raising the tax. Canadian Natural Resources recently paused an $8.25 billion project in Alberta because of these destructive Liberal policies. Canada should be powering our economy, supplying energy to our allies. So why won't the Liberals get out of the
Question period hasn't even begun yet. This is just a statement, and it's already question period jargon. Like, will the Conservatives come up with something new? Like, they really need to. They need to come up with something fresh here, because it's getting a little ridiculous. They're getting nothing out of this. As much as I appreciate them standing up there and opposing everything and, you know, doing what they do, it's starting to get kind of crazy here.
To Canada at both the summer and winter Paralympic Games, earned multiple medals at World Championships and earned second and 2 Paralympic silver medals. He continued excellence is a testament to skills and unwavering commitment to sport. Yesterday, Team Canada celebrated its first victory at the Games with assistant captain Hickey contributing significantly with a goal and 2 assists. This performance reflects not only his athletic ability, but his leadership and determination. Mr. Speaker, Liam Hickey is an inspiration to athletes across Newfoundland and Labrador.
The honourable member for Saskatoon West.
Mr. Speaker, under this Liberal government, foreign conflicts are spilling into Canadian streets, and Jewish Canadians are paying the price. Just last week, 3 synagogues were damaged by gunfire. It's not really surprising, since Liberal immigration policies approve some asylum claims without even talking to the claimant. After the fact, some are found to be foreign agents that should be deported. Yesterday at Immigration Committee, the government said they couldn't deport IRGC regime officials for several reasons. First excuse, the Liberals protected their right to claim asylum. Second excuse, there are currently no flights to Iran. Third excuse, the IRGC regime officials' privacy is more important than the safety of Canadians. Ridiculous. Our immigration system is broken and Canadians are fed up. The reality is, this Liberal immigration minister has failed to protect our borders while hundreds of IRGC agents safely reside in Canada. She's allowing bad actors into Canada and doing nothing to stop them from terrorizing Canadians. Why does the immigration minister still have her job after failing Canadians so badly? Hear, hear.
The honourable member for La Prairie at Tadican. Mr. Speaker, the AAA midget hockey team, the Riverains at the Collège Charles Lemoine in Sainte Catherine, once again demonstrated its strength this season. They're champions in my riding. In La Prairie Attican, they climbed to the top of their division standings before entering the playoffs. I'm impressed by their discipline and dedication. Players have to juggle rigorous training schedules with homework, as well as 42 games played across Quebec with school days afterwards. And the young people cope with this demanding schedule, which is reflected in the exceptional quality of their play and their academic excellence. And behind this success is a remarkable leader, their head coach, Olivier Latendresse, and David Crowder, their DG, whose work rigor and team spirit inspired the entire team. They're now in the playoffs, and for having seen how well they play, I can say that this is top-level hockey. So best of luck to the Riverains tonight and through the playoffs. The honourable member for Shefford. Mr. Speaker, for 10 years, Quebec students have been working to bring about concrete and lasting improvements in the living and studying conditions of thousands of Quebecers. This is the Quebec Student Union. It's a national association representing 15 member university associations. Their commitment to the next generation of university research and to improving the living conditions of academics deserves to be commended. They make an essential contribution, paving the way forward for Quebec's scientific development in the future. With scientific and technological developments advancing at breakneck speed, more than ever, we need partners like the Student Union to remind us of the conditions that we need for innovation and research to prosper. That's exactly what they're doing. The pressure that they're putting on various levels of government is further evidence of their firm commitment to stimulating the engagement of a new generation of researchers and academics in Quebec. On behalf of the Bloc Québécois, I wish long life to the Quebec Student Union and best of success in all of your endeavours.
The honourable member for Halifax.
On the heels of Black History Month, I'm honored to recognize and celebrate the incredible contributions of the African Nova Scotian community. Halifax is home to a somber history of racism that must not be forgotten, and reconciliation must be an ongoing effort. The Africville Museum is ensuring that this happens by sharing their history, celebrating their achievements, and advocating for change. The African Nova Scotian Road to Economic Prosperity is driving the course to practical reparations for this community. The African Nova Scotian Justice Institute provides free legal services and guidance to African Nova Scotians, and New Roots Community Land Trust is advocating for investment into community infrastructure targeted at displaced African Nova Scotian communities. And many other community members are driving important change. Today in Ottawa, I want to recognize these incredible, impassioned organizations that are doing such important work. It's not going unnoticed, and it deserves to be celebrated. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Middlesex London.
Affordability of goods and services in Canada is the #1 concern for Canadians. We cannot control what happens abroad, but the Liberals control the policies that are making life more expensive here at home. We have the worst food price inflation in the G7 and the only shrinking economy. The Prime Minister is ramming through his newly renamed carbon tax, the Clean Fuel Standard, hammering farmers, fishermen, and every family buying food. Add the industrial carbon tax on steel, aluminum, plastic, and farm equipment. These costs are made here in Canada, not abroad. As Tom from London told me, the price of a pack of 8 burgers jumped from $15 to $18.50. That is 23% in weeks. Dolores from Strathroy said it plainly. The Prime Minister has no clue how the average Canadian lives. And Bill from Fallowfield warned we're heading for a countrywide recession. When will the Liberals accept responsibility and remove the policies that are crushing Canadian families?
The honourable member for Dorval, Lachine, LaSalle.
Mr. Speaker, International Women's Day is a moment to recognize the leadership, resilience, and contributions of women.
All right, so while that's going on,
In Ohio,
speaking of
and
women,
give remarks at Verst
Caroline
Logistics in
Leavitt,
Kentucky.
absolute legend. Here we go.
On Thursday, President Trump and the First Lady will host a Women's History Month event in the East Room. And on Friday, the President will sign several executive orders, and we will provide more details on those later this week. As President Trump shared with the American people last night, the United States military is making tremendous strides towards achieving our military objectives for Operation Epic Fury. 10 days in, this campaign has been a resounding success thus far, and America's warriors are winning this important fight at an even faster pace than we anticipated. More than 5,000 enemy targets have been struck so far. Iran's ballistic missile attacks are down more than 90%, and their drone attacks are down by approximately 85%.
Oral questions, questions orales. The honourable leader of the opposition.
All right, here we go, finally.
There have always been wars in the Middle East, and we can't control those things. But here, at home, we didn't have these problems. People would keep these problems at home. After 10 years of out-of-control Liberal policies on the border, on law and order, they've allowed criminals, terrorists, and illegal weapons to enter this country. And criminals are on our street. Now, there are shootings at synagogues, Iranian dissidents being killed, other shootings. 700 regime agents are here. What will the Prime Minister do to restore safety in this country? The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Oh yeah, clap for him because he actually decided to show up for once. My God, this guy's a loser.
Monsieur le Président. Mr. Speaker, the government deplores the shootings on synagogues in Toronto at the American consulate. This is one of the reasons why the government is vigilant with respect to terrorists. The Revolutionary Guard are registered as a terrorist entity.
Honourable leader of the opposition.
But the Liberal Prime Minister allows these terrorists to stay in the country, is not deporting them. We need to be safe here and affordable, have an affordable life. And before this war, the Prime Minister, this Liberal Prime Minister, delivered the worst food inflation in the G7. Inflation that has caused an increase in the cost of food higher than in other countries. It has to do with his own inflationary taxes and policies. Will he undo these inflationary taxes and policies so that Canadians can afford groceries? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the government is taking action against the Revolutionary Guard Corps. There are 10,000 people who are disallowed from this country. We are taking action with respect to Canadians' spending power. We've reduced taxes for Canadians. We've increased benefits, food benefits. We have provided daycare to Canadian families.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
There have always been wars in the Middle East, but never before did those wars spill onto our streets here in Canada. But after 10 years of liberal immigration, liberal open borders, they have allowed criminals, terrorists, illegal guns to enter our country. After 10 years of liberal catch and release laws that the Prime Minister has not changed one word on, we have criminals released on our streets, and now our synagogues are being shot. Iranian dissidents killed on our streets, and there are 700 IRGC terrorist agents on our streets. What will the Prime Minister do to restore the safety that Canadians had before his Liberal government took office?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we got to go quick here. C-14 changes the bail laws. He might want to read it, definitely wants to support it. That member opposite has voted against every single gun control measure ever put before this House. This government has banned the Islamic Guard. This government's sanctioned over 200 individuals, over 200 Iranian entities. This government is investigating over 17,000 individual cases. We are protecting this country with 1,000 more RCMP, 1,000 more guards.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
What I voted against was a Liberal approach that has doubled gun crime by wasting billions going after duck hunters, farmers, and legal sport shooters. The Prime Minister is more worried about protecting turkeys from hunters than he is about protecting synagogues from terrorists, Mr. Speaker. That's the real problem. He's got 700 IRGC terrorists in this country. It doesn't matter if they're banned. If they're on our streets, they are a danger. They are shooting up synagogues, killing dissidents, and threatening our people. Will he reverse the Liberal agenda that unleashed this violence on our streets?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we, on this side of the House, we want to protect synagogues. We want to protect community centers. We want to protect places of worship, which is why C9 is before this House today. I challenge the member opposite to put his votes behind his words to protect the Jewish community, to protect communities of faith across this country.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, his solution to synagogues being shot up is to ban sections of the Jewish Torah. Mr. Speaker, that is not our solution on this side of the House. And that's according to his own immigration minister, his own heritage minister. We need to be safe at home. We need to be affordable at home. But even before this war broke out and raised gas prices, this Prime Minister doubled food price inflation and gave us the worst grocery price increases in all of the G7, so excuses about global impacts are not going to work. Will the Prime Minister reverse his new taxes on food, fuel, farmers, and fertilizer so Canadians can afford to eat?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I would suggest that the member opposite read the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which protects the Torah, which protects the Bible, which protects freedom of expression. This House should not be
which your party violated.
Formed by possible misrepresentation. We should follow the true word that protects all Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the question was about food prices. This Prime Minister said he would be judged by the prices at the grocery store. Since he took office, food price inflation has doubled. And this Prime Minister has introduced new taxes that increased the fuel prices of the farmers that feed us. Now, 2.2 million people are lined up at food banks and faced with even worse fuel costs today. So will the Prime Minister the Liberal Prime Minister reverse his latest Liberal tax so that Canadians can afford to eat?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it feels like Groundhog Day. I'm once again required to remind the member opposite that the impact of the industrial carbon tax on fuel prices is approximately zero. The impact, though, of our trade deals on the farmers in his constituency is absolutely enormous. It is almost planting season, and the farmers of Alberta, Battle River, Crowfoot can plant canola.
The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, we have big news here in Parliament. Put on your Sunday best. If you look at the Prime Minister's circumnavigating the globe like Marco Polo, he seems to be his own Foreign Affairs Minister. Unfortunately, this minister is not being excessively clear. In fact, yesterday was an extraordinary opportunity for him to explain to Parliament, following his own invitation, what his own policies are. When will he explain his strategic vision for the Middle East?
A new question.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Wow.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. Canada's policy is clear. Canada supports the necessity of preventing Iran's nuclear program and exporting of any terrorism. Canada is not participating in the offensive operations of Israel and the United States and will not, ever. The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. If it is clear, it will be news. Mr. Speaker, Canada is militarily a small player and in the middle tranche and is the most isolated, and apparently no one seems to understand Canada's position. Has he spoken to our allies in Europe, and what have they agreed to as to a common position? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I just had a conversation with Mr. Macron, the president of the G7. I had a conversation with the Prime Minister of Japan. A meeting, in fact. I had a conversation with the President of the United States. Those are 3 members of the G7. I'm the 4th. I will be having a meeting with Mr. Starmer, 5. And then,
wow, I'm glad he knows
Madame
this.
Meloni, yes, we will find a common agreement among the G7 countries. We will do that. And we will have a de-escalation. The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. I should have specified together with convergence, and I think we're going to make some major changes to geography for the U.S. to be part of Europe. Does the Prime Minister intend to propose any short-term measures to support those people who are directly suffering and will continue to further suffer from this war? I'm talking about inflation, buying power, retirees, access to property for young families. I'm referring, in fact, to all of these things that are not being solved or won't be solved in Norway over 5 years, but right now, right here, for citizens in Quebec and Canada. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the best option is de-escalation, is to have peace. That is the reason why I have conversations with other members of the G7, members of the Middle East, like Qatar, Oman, the UAE, the Prime Minister of Lebanon. And 4th point, we need to use the G7's oil reserves.
Honourable member for Chilliwack Hope. Canadians are struggling to make ends meet. Record food bank usage, personal bankruptcy rates, and an increasing number of Canadians borrowing money to buy food are proof of that. While there are some things that are outside of our control, there are things that this government does control, like their new fuel tax, which is already raising the price of gas by 7 cents a litre and is set to climb up to 17 cents a litre, raising the cost of everything that Canadians buy. So when will the Liberals finally take responsible for their reckless policies and stop making life more expensive for Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Let's be clear. Studies show that the impact of the industrial carbon price on food is zero. The clean fuel regulations do not impose a price at the pump. But what they do is create an impressive economy for our canola farmers. He should speak to the leader of his organization, of his Conservative Party. There's a canola crush plant.
I bet they're very happy about the canola that is being sold to China in abundance. They just love China. That's all it is.
See their price go up by $1.09 a bushel, according to the Biofuels Association.
The Honourable Member for Chilliwack Hope.
Every country in the G7 is facing external pressures, but this government stands alone in having created the worst food price inflation and the only shrinking economy in the G7. Instead of making life more affordable, the Liberals are making it worse with their higher fuel and carbon taxes that are raising the cost for farmers, fishers, and truckers, driving up the cost of everything for cash-strapped Canadians. So why don't the Liberals finally focus on what they can control and get rid of these harmful policies that are punishing Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, let's talk about what we can control. Building Cedar LNG, building wood fiber LNG, expanding Tilbury LNG, approving LNG Canada 2, approving Silicem, and approving the PRGT pipeline to the West Coast.
The Honourable Member for Tobique-Mactaquac.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians know we cannot control what happens abroad, but this government controls the policies here at home. Under this Liberal government, Canada now has the worst food price inflation in the G7 and the only shrinking economy in the G7. Our families, seniors, workers, and those who transport our food have no alternative but to use fuel. These costs are imposed here at home, not abroad. When will the Liberals end the era of self-sabotage and remove the policies that are driving up costs here at home?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, they seem to like to repeat their question, so let me repeat the answer. Studies have shown the industrial carbon price does not increase the cost of food. The clean fuel regulations do not impose a price right at the pump. And if you want to be really clear, it creates an economic opportunity. I would think that they would like to see that. In fact, according to the Advanced Biofuels Canada Association, it will create or preserve an average farm revenue by $60,000. That should mean something to the members opposite.
The Honourable Member for Tobique-Mactaquac.
Mr. Speaker, tell that to the producers and farmers in Victoria, Carleton, and York counties in New Brunswick being hit by their newly renamed carbon tax, the Clean Fuel Standard, which adds 7 cents a litre. At the same time, the Liberals have raised the industrial carbon tax on steel, aluminum, and on farming equipment. All this is driving up costs for dairy, beef, and poultry producers in my region and throughout the country. These costs are imposed here at home. I ask again, when will the Liberals end their era of self-sabotage and remove the policies making life more expensive for all Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speaker, there are a lot of things we can't control in the world, but many things we can control. And what we can control is definitely how we build one Canadian economy. Good news is the manufacturing PMI. So basically the manufacturing new business activity, my colleague referred to steel, aluminum, auto, etc., is at a 13-month high. That means that businesses are now having more orders, more jobs are created. The tariff has impacted us, but you know what? We have a good plan, we're bouncing back, and we'll fight for jobs.
The Honourable Member for Côte-du-Sud, Rivière-du-Loup, Katascomique, Témiscouata. Mr.
Holy
Speaker,
Christ, that was a
I've spoken
mouthful.
to farmers in my riding, and they're fed up. They constantly have to pay more and more for...
Look at this guy's riding. What the fuck is that? How come I've never heard that before? Out of all the question periods, we've never seen this. At least I haven't. Holy crap.
Hammering those who keep our communities alive and get rid of this inflationary taxation. The Honourable Minister. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. To correct.
All right, anyway, the same 5 things are being asked over and over again, so let's watch
based on
this.
Intelligence, based on facts, and based on intelligence that he himself and his negotiators have consumed based on their, again, negotiations with the rogue Iranian regime over the past year. And the president and his team tried in a good faith way to reach a diplomatic deal through peaceful means with the Iranian regime. And Iran chose this path to death and destruction. Iran wanted to attack the United States of America, and the president was not going to sit back and allow that to happen. He was not going to sit back and allow that to happen, and everyone in this room should be grateful for it. John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. 2 questions for you. One has to do with a follow-up to your statement that you made at the beginning of the briefing regarding the Save America Act.
Sure.
Yesterday, the Senate Majority Leader John Thune spoke on the effort to potentially have a filibuster broken, the rules for the filibuster broken. He said the votes aren't there, one, to nuke the filibuster, and the votes aren't there for a talking filibuster. He says that's the reality. What's your reaction to what Senator Thune said?
Look, I think President Trump, the urgency behind his need to pass the Save America Act and his desire to get this country-saving legislation passed has been made quite clear. He wants all options on the table, and he wants the Senate to move as quickly as possible through whatever means necessary.
And then secondly, just regarding the president's trip tomorrow, looking ahead, why Ohio and why Northern Kentucky?
Well, why not? These are 2 great states with great Americans.
Just wanted to know why they were chosen.
Great states with great Americans. The president will be joined by lawmakers from both states who he greatly admires and respects and supports. And he'll be meeting with business owners in both of these places and talking about the economy, which is, of course, the utmost importance to him.
Caroline, thank you. Last week, the Energy Secretary issued a waiver for India to get oil, Russian oils during this energy crisis.
Yes.
Have you spoken to the President about it? What's the idea behind this?
Have I spoken to the president about it?
Yeah.
Yes, I have spoken to the president about it. And the president and the Secretary of Treasury and the whole national security team came to this decision because our allies in India, as you know, Lalit, have been good actors and have previously stopped buying sanctioned Russian oil. So as we work to appease this temporary gap of oil supply around the world because of the Iranians, we have temporarily permitted them to accept that Russian oil. And this Russian oil was already at sea. It was already out on the water. So this short-term measure, we don't believe it will provide significant financial benefit to the Russian government at this time.
I have one more question about Pakistan. You know, Pakistan is a neighbor of Iran, and Pakistan is also an ally of U.S. President has been praising a lot about the field marshal. Is Pakistan providing any kind of support in this war against Iran?
That I will have to check on with the Pentagon and get back to you. Sure.
The president said yesterday that President Putin told him he wanted to be helpful in the Middle East. The Kremlin put out a statement where Putin said, quote, "I would like to reaffirm our unwavering support for Tehran and our solidarity with Iranian friends." How does the president think that Russia could be helpful, if not helping Iran? And did the president push Putin on Russia sharing intelligence with Iran in this war?
The president and his special envoy Witkoff have both said that, of course, they've sent a message to Russia that if that was taking place, it's not something they would be happy with, and they hope that it is not taking place. As for further details about the discussions between these 2 leaders, I'll leave it to the president to divulge any more of that conversation, but he did confirm it yesterday and provided you with a little bit of the background and his view and his perspective, as he always does. Luke.
Regarding the missile strike on the Iranian school, how long does the administration expect that investigation to take, and will the White House or the Department of Defense release a full report of its findings once the investigation is complete?
The Department of War will do that. The investigation continues, and as the president said yesterday at his press conference, he will accept the conclusion of that investigation, whatever it may be. We'll go to the back row for some love. Sure, in the back with the glasses. Go ahead.
Regarding the shield of the
Sitting
Americas.
down. Caroline,
is
and
there
then you can go, but go first.
Okay, thank you.
Is there an update regarding
You have rough real estate back there, so I'm trying to give you
is
some
there an
love.
update regarding Cuba, and also is an economic deal imminent?
Sure. I don't have any updates on Cuba for you today. Obviously, this is something the administration is actively dealing with. The president's made it quite clear, it's his belief, based on fact, that the Cuban regime is bound to fall. The country is obviously in a very weak place, economically speaking. The people are crying out for help, and the president believes and knows that the Cuban regime wants a deal. So as you know, Secretary of State Rubio has been engaged in those conversations as directed by the president. I don't have any updates for you today, though.
Thank you, Caroline. Regarding the Shield of the Americas, the initiative by President Trump this weekend, big names, a lot of countries, but some notable absences. For instance, Colombia, which is a key ally with the United States in terms of counter-narcotics, and President Gustavo Petro was here at the White House and he met with President Trump. Why wasn't Colombia invited to the Shield of the Americas?
I don't think we're seeing the level of cooperation we quite want to see yet from the Colombian government to invite them to the Shield of America's event in Pact, but we certainly hope that this newfound organization will expand and we can continue to invite additional member countries. But there was quite a few countries there. I believe there were 17 countries represented, 12 heads of state with the president over the weekend. They signed a defense agreement with all of our militaries to emphasize the need to combat drug cartels through Latin America in the Western Hemisphere, and ultimately, of course, to curb the illegal trafficking of drugs to the United States, which is the president's utmost priority in all of this. So it was a great event on Saturday, and we look forward to the coalition expanding. Kelly in the back.
Caroline, thank you. Good to see you. I want to get back to another question that was asked earlier. It talked about the political aspects, but there's also the ideological and the spiritual aspects of what Iran has said for 47 years. Death to America, death to Israel. And we've just finished talking about the fact that terror has been around the world. Iran has been the nexus of that in so many ways. Has the president stated clearly to the American people why this is such an imminent threat in order for Democrats on Capitol Hill and Republicans and the American people to understand how imminent the threat was?
I think he has, Kelly. I mean, you've heard from the president on an almost daily basis over the course of the past 10 days. You've heard it from me at this podium. You've heard it from the Secretary of War, the Secretary of State, the Vice President of the United States. You know, the president's top cabinet and his officials have been repeatedly explaining to the American public the threat that Iran has posed to our country in this moment, but of course, over the course of the past 47 years. And their words, again, chanting death to America, speak for themselves. Go ahead. You can follow up.
Why the division within the American people? I realize that we have the people are talking about the War Powers Act, they're talking about all kinds of issues, but have people forgotten just how imminent that threat was? If they keep saying death to America and death to Israel, they mean it.
Look, I don't think the American people have forgotten, but I think Democrats on Capitol Hill, they have not forgotten, but they are just so plagued with this resistance to President Trump on everything that they do that, again, they can't even rally behind the common sense, bipartisan, long-standing principle of the United States of America that Iran absolutely poses a threat to the United States, that Iran is the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. And I think that's reflected again in their voting pattern. In 2023, every single member of the House of Representatives, with the exception of one, I believe the final vote was 412 to 1 in 2023 for a resolution condemning Iran as the world's state leading sponsor of terror. And now in this year, under this president, in 2026, 53 Democrats voted against that exact same resolution with the exact same language. I don't think that's a change in the threat that Iran has posed to the United States. I think it's a change in the Democrat Party's thinking and their vicious hatred for President Trump. Danny? Sure.
National threat level, following on Kelly, what's the national threat level right now because of this death to America, death to Israel issue?
I believe the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI have repeatedly and continuously provided updates on the threat level to the homeland. I don't want to speak on it out of turn from up here, but of course, the federal government is continuing to coordinate and partner with local law enforcement agencies across the ground to thwart potential threats to the homeland. This is something the administration obviously takes very seriously. We are thwarting threats that, frankly, most Americans don't know about because they never make headlines, but that's That's the great work that the Department of Homeland Security is doing, and it emphasizes and underscores the point of why Democrats need to fund and reopen fully the Department of Homeland Security right now. Danny.
School. Why did President Trump say yesterday that Iran may have Tomahawk missiles when there are only 3 other U.S. allies plus the U.S. that have those missiles and therefore could?
Look, again, as the president said yesterday, he will
have their own
accept
version.
the conclusion of this investigation by the Department of War. I know there's been a lot of speculation in the media about who may be responsible for this. We're not going to get ahead of the Department of War and the conclusion of that investigation. The president has a right to share his opinions with the American public, but he has said he'll accept the conclusion of that investigation. And frankly, we're not going to be harassed by the New York Times, who's been putting out a lot of articles on this, making claims that have just not been verified by the Department of War, to quickly wrap up this investigation because the New York Times is calling on us to do so.
Thank you. Hi, thank you so much. Carolyn, with the DHS currently under a partial Democrat shutdown, does the administration have any specific concerns about potential impact on Homeland Security or intelligence monitoring of sleeper cells inside the United States? And do you have any comment on the bombing, the 2 individuals that bombed New York City or tried to?
Yeah, I was absolutely to see that attack in New York City. I know the FBI is investigating, and the Department of Justice and SDNY have announced they are charging those 2 individuals and alleged terrorists, and I know they won't rest until justice is sought in this case. Daniel.
Thank you, Caroline. Appreciate it. Millions of Americans are filing taxes for the first time since the president signed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act into law. New reports say that new IRS data says that the average federal tax refund is around $3,800, a little bit up from the last period of last year. Does the president believe that the average federal tax refund increasing this year could provide a little bit more economic growth, something that he's been very focused on as the year progresses?
Absolutely. And Americans are going to start benefiting from the fruits of President Trump and Republicans' labor through the passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill and these historic tax cuts. We are midway through tax season, so just to provide an update from the Treasury Department that just went out moments ago, nearly 63.5 million tax returns have been processed thus far, 45% of the anticipated total number of tax returns by April 15th, so don't forget to file your taxes, people. And the average refund this year is more than $3,700. And we know that more than 27.5 million individuals who have filed their tax returns thus far have claimed at least one of President Trump's new tax cuts. Over 3.5 million returns have claimed no tax on tips. Over 15.5 million returns have claimed no tax on overtime. Over 9.2 million returns have claimed the enhanced deduction for seniors. And over 690,000 returns have claimed no tax on car loan interest. And another amazing statistic, nearly 3.5 million Trump accounts have been opened for children in our country thus far. So we look forward to, I know the Treasury Department continues to look forward to seeing these checks go out the door and into the pockets of hardworking Americans, and the president will be meeting with them himself tomorrow on the road in both Ohio and Kentucky, and we look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Caroline.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of updates. Things are happening today at a rate that we have never seen before. Bear with me here, folks. I need to get situated, and then we're going to really start breaking everything down. We've got real news, fake news. We've got fact-checking. We have breaking news developments. We have statements from the Pentagon. We have statements from the Iranian regime. We have statements about the current situation in the Hormuz. We have a lot to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. Do me a favor, if you're new to the show, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe and follow on Rumble. Thank you all very much for being here. We have a massive super chat from Sapper Jackson. Massive one. He says, the new Democrat oath to the detriment of the United States. Yeah, very true. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Sapper Jackson. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Danielle Whitley. Daniel Whitley says Afghan pullout left billions in military assets behind as well, unguarded. Guaranteed they were found that way to Iran. $7 billion to be exact. It was almost like it was a gift to the Taliban. You're right. Thank you very much. In fact, I made a big post about that on Twitter last night. You guys really need to be following my Twitter page, Matt Morris TV on Twitter. I actually talked about that last night on a post that went viral last night. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, let me clue you guys in. We have a lot to talk about here. Okay, first off, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, he says that today, tonight, as in like right now, day 10 of the war is going to be the most intense day of strikes yet, adding that Iran stands alone and is suffering heavy losses. So that's why we are here today, ladies and gentlemen, doing live breaking coverage. We also have this fact check. Secretary of Energy Chris Wright, part of the Trump administration, said this on Twitter earlier today, and I reported on this. President Trump is maintaining stability of global energy during the military operations against Iran. He said the U.S. Navy successfully escorted an oil tanker through the Strait of Hormuz to ensure oil remains flowing to global markets. So about 90 minutes ago, I reported this to you guys live when he posted this. And we said, oh, this is a big development. The Navy is escorting tankers through the Hormuz. That's a big deal. He then deleted the post. U.S. Secretary of Energy Wright, Chris Wright, I think is his name, Chris, he deleted the post after saying that. And we just heard Carolyn Leavitt, the White House press secretary, say, this actually has not happened. The U.S. Navy has not yet, they might in the future, but they have not yet escorted tankers through the Hormuz. Very curious. I don't know why he posted this. I don't know who's lying, who's telling the truth. If it was somebody misspoke, I don't know what. We're going to wait for updates here. The Iranian regime saw that post and they issued their own response. This is Abbas Araghchi, the foreign minister of the Iranian regime. He said this in response. U.S. officials are posting fake news to manipulate the markets. It won't protect them from inflationary tsunami they have imposed on Americans. Markets are facing biggest shortfall in history, bigger than Arab oil embargo, Iran's Islamic Revolution, and the Kuwait invasion combined. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've been saying this for days now. The Iranian regime's entire strategy, their strategy to win the war, or to at least get the U.S. to pull out and call this thing off, is to leverage the global economy. They're looking to cause as much economic chaos, economic turbulence, economic mayhem that they possibly can to put pressure on Trump. Oil prices are rising, and Trump says, okay, all right, we got to cool this off. We need to reopen up the Hormuz. Okay, we're done. Operation Epic Fury is over. We're going to back off in order to cool off the markets. That is the Iranian regime's strategy. And this is, of course, it's what they're doing. This is the reason for shutting down the Hormuz. That's their goal. What is the Iranian regime's goal with shutting down the Hormuz? Well, to skyrocket oil prices, duh. And then you look at their actions. That's their actions. They're trying to shut down the Hormuz. What are they saying? What are the words? Well, they're trying to hammer home this point. Economic turbulence, economic chaos, economic chaos. And so this is the Iranian foreign minister taking any opportunity he can. Now, unfortunately for them, Trump is opening up this strait. We're already seeing vessels go through the strait with their transponders off. It seems as if the Iranian regime's capacity to shut down the Strait of Hormuz is not exactly what they thought it was. The Iranian regime, they thought they were going to be able to institute a 100% shutdown and that the U.S. wouldn't be able to do anything about it. As it would turn out, it does seem as if the United States military is able to do something about it. It hasn't happened entirely yet, but the U.S., day by day, we are opening up this strait. It is happening, and more vessels are navigating through the strait in spite and in defiance of the wishes of the Iranian regime. It turns out the Iranian regime actually perhaps does not have the complete capacity to shut down the strait. Every single day, we're diminishing that capacity. Whatever capacity they have, it's getting diminished day by day. We have an update here coming out of the IDF. Take a look at this. Nearly 50% of the IRGC missiles launched at Israel are missiles with cluster munitions. Well, we've been sitting here debating, are they cluster munitions? Is it debris? What is going on up there? The IDF is now coming out and saying, yes, they are cluster munitions. In fact, 50% of their missiles are cluster munitions. Cluster munitions release dozens or hundreds of smaller bomblets over a wide area, sometimes 8 kilometers wide. 8 kilometers. Okay, I've got bad news here for you folks. The Pentagon has just come out and confirmed the Reuters report on casualties in Iran says in a statement, the Pentagon statement, approximately 140 U.S. service members have been wounded over 10 days of conflict. 140 wounded. We have had terribly, I believe 7 casualties. Correct me if I'm wrong. 7 casualties. And the Pentagon says 140 people have been wounded. Okay. This was initially reported by Reuters about an hour ago. Now we have a Pentagon confirmation. So terrible news, bad news. 7 casualties, 140 wounded. Okay. I want to show you something here. Talking about people getting wounded. The Iranian regime's capacity to fire off ballistic missiles and drones is getting severely diminished. Hold up. We've got people spamming the chat. Hey, why are people spamming the chat? Hold on here. Wait a minute. I see people are spamming, and you shouldn't be doing that. Hold up. Wait a minute. There you go. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the Iranian regime's capacity to fire off missiles and suicide drones is going down every single day. We have the numbers for March 9th. Today's March 10th. So yesterday's numbers are officially in. And right now we can see that yesterday the Iranian regime only fired 25 ballistic missiles. That's the red line, the red bar. 25 ballistic missiles and 55 suicide drones. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is, if this remains consistent, if these very low rates remain consistent, the Iranian regime is launching like 5% or something of what they were launching on day one. Within 10 days, they're launching, 5, 6, 7% of what they were on day one. That's wild. And of course, the reason why is because every single day, the U.S. Air Force, and of course the Israeli Air Force as well, were carrying out targeted strikes on IRGC locations, storage facilities, launch pads, everything. You know, it's not just the machinery and the equipment that is needed to launch this stuff, but it's also the human element. Some human being has got to drive the truck out of the bunker. You put the missile on the back of the truck, you get inside the cab, turn the truck on, you got to drive it out of the bunker, right? Drive it out into the field and then walk out, get out of the cab, walk out, press the button, launch the missile. Well, we keep blowing those guys up. All of those.
This can't go on for too much longer. There's just no way. There's just no way unless they're being funded constantly by Russia or China. Like they're running out. They have to be. There's just no way they can keep this up. Anyway, that is going to do it for the 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time live stream. I will be live again at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time covering more of the Iran war. I don't know, like I said before, there's no way this can continue on for much longer. If it does, then I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it at this point. The strikes on Beirut have pretty much quieted down. The gunfire is less and less each day. And as we're seeing here from these charts, the reports, the quantity of missiles and drones, leadership member after leadership member just destroyed. Council of leaders destroyed. Like it's over for them. And it's coming to the end. It has to be. Anyway, that's going to do it. Like I said, adios, everybody. Thank you for joining.
Unifying national figure for a future transition. Khuzestan is not just another province, it's the heart of Iran's